I am so excited to be here with all of you. My name is Kerrymagro, professional speaker, best-selling author, and autistic self-advocate. I was non-speaking for the first few years of my life, was diagnosed with autism later on at 4 years old, and today have a full-time job in public speaking. I figured it would be fun today if I would do a Facebook Live to talk a little bit about just any questions that you specifically have. I saw a YouTube series called Ask an Autistic, which was based on questions. So I figured if you're new to my page and you're just seeing my page for the first time, maybe there are a few questions that you would like to ask me that I haven't been able to answer yet. So figured I'd had a free few minutes, so I would jump on and answer your questions based on my journey. Being diagnosed with PDD-NOS in 1992, there was a lot of unknown about autism. And obviously we have a lot of resources around autism today within our communities. So definitely let me know what questions you have and we'll try to get to a few today. I also wanted to share about L's for Autism. L's for Autism is a nonprofit organization based in Florida. They are named based on Ernie Els, the pro golfer, who actually has a child who's on the autism spectrum, and they do some incredible, tremendous work. So I wanted to highlight them specifically because they have an award called the L's for Autism Spectrum Award. And I would be honored if you would consider nominating me for this prestigious honor. It goes to an individual who is on the autism spectrum who is doing incredible work within our community. So I've included a little bit of an information and description in this video where you can actually, if you would like, consider nominating me for that prestigious honor. And if you end up doing it, please just email me and let me know that you are, and I would be so grateful. So we have a few questions that are already coming in, which is really amazing. So I'm going to start answering a few of them now. So Aaron writes, "Hey Aaron, love your page. What's an autism charity you support and would recommend?" Okay, so Aaron, one of the charity, I have a little bit of a bias. I have my own nonprofit organization called KFM Making a Difference, which provides scholarships for autistic students to go to college. We've been able to give out 100 scholarships in the past 9 years. And it's just been a tremendous opportunity to give back to our community. We also provide inclusion events for our community to enjoy, and they can be found at kfmmakingadifference.org. So that would be my recommendation. Ainsley writes, "Hey Ainsley, how would you describe sensory overload to someone who is an autistic? I try to and literally cannot put it into words." So Ainsley, for me, and it's going to be different for every person you meet, and that's for a few reasons. One is because typically when people have sensory overload, it's either a hypersensitivity to sensory challenges or a low sensitivity to sensory challenges. When I do consulting calls, this is one of the top questions I get asked from guardians. So one of the things that you should keep in mind is when you're talking about sensory overload and explaining it to somebody who doesn't have that connection to the community, is that there's a hypersensitivity to it, there's a low sensitivity to it. So some individuals might deal with meltdowns. Some other individuals, you might notice that they don't really feel a lot of pain at all or any feeling towards bright lights, loud noises, different tastes and touches. So that's all some stuff that you should think about, and always kind of think about autism being the spectrum. I love the questions that are coming in. Brinja writes, "How do you go about getting a possible diagnosis as a young adult female?" Now, Brinja, so it varies depending where you're based. In the United States, if you have a primary physician, I would definitely recommend reaching out to them to see if they have any recommendations. I would also go to autismspeaks.org/resource-guide. Because they typically have therapy providers in all 50 states. They have a resource guide of all 50 states that would be able to help you get a recommendation for a potential potential diagnosis. You could also, if you're in school, you could recommend just asking somebody in your school if they know of a psychologist or a physician who might be able to diagnose that individual. Josh writes, hey, Josh. Josh writes, hi, Kerry, love your page. Our son is autistic and he's 3, and he was also diagnosed with severe apraxia of speech. I read up to 65% of individuals have apraxia of speech. Yeah, Joshua, it's ironically enough, it's the majority of autistic children. I'm not specifically sure what the number is specifically, but we know the majority of individuals deal with apraxia. Equiphilia is also typically on the rise, epilepsy. In addition to that, ADHD, there have been studies that have indicated that up to 64% of autistic individuals also have ADHD. So we've noticed that a lot of autism, there's a lot of dual diagnoses and comorbidities that go along with it, which can lead to multiple diagnoses. So that is something I've heard in the past. All right. We have a great question that just came in from Andrea. And just again, for everyone joining us, I would love if you would consider nominating me for the L's for Autism Spectrum Award for the work that we do in this community. I would really greatly appreciate it. I've included some information about it if you would consider nominating me. I would love for you to write in the comments if you are considering nominating me as well. And if you need more information, please just let me know. Let's see, we have a lot of great questions coming in. So I'm going back to the top and I'm seeing we have a question coming in from Anna, who writes, why is it so hard for colleges to understand our children? Yeah, Anna, so unfortunately today, especially in the United States, only 1 out of every 3 autistic students who graduate from high school go to college. And a lot of that is because of the, again, autism is a spectrum. I wish I could say every single person on the autism spectrum is going to find full-time job, go to college, et cetera, and so forth, but it is a spectrum. One of the things I think colleges need to do a better job of is understanding the reasonable accommodations that might accompany an autism diagnosis. And that's for many schools, not only for autism, but it's all disability-based. I mean, for example, my accommodations when I was in college were a private room to take all my tests, a note taker for all my classes because I had a difficult time with retention. In addition to that, being able to get extended time on tests. These are all things that colleges really need to take more advantage of. And with my scholarship program, one of the things that we're doing is we're coming out with a book, hopefully in the spring of 2022, focus on autistic adults who are succeeding in college today. Marcia writes, sure, I will nominate you. Please send the link. I really appreciate that, Marcia. Marcia, in the description, there is a link to the nomination form in addition to my contact info for the nomination form as well. Jessica writes, how can you tell if a 2-year-old is on the spectrum? Jessica, that's a great question. So there's definitely some early signs, especially one of the biggest is no words by 12 months is typically, especially 1 to 3 word phrases. It can be a sign of autism. Limited babbling can also be a sign. Difficulties with bright lights, sensory challenges as well can be an indicator. Lack of eye contact is also a huge one that continues to be emphasized, especially if your child also has any specific picky eating challenges. It could be food allergy related. It could be just a texture-based thing, but it also could be a gastrointestinal issue as well. So those are definitely some of the things that I would highly recommend looking at as early signs. And again, it is a spectrum. Kathy writes, hey, Kathy, do you find that when there's a positive shift or change in a skill for an autistic individual, that there is a simultaneous loss or regression in a different skill, even if only temporary. Yeah, Kathy, I've noticed that from my own personal experiences in sports. When I found a fixation for basketball, I was losing a retention in some of the other sports that I had recently built a muscle memory in. But I think sometimes autistic individuals deal with that a little bit more than their neurotypical peers, but that's just an indication of just somebody finding a new transitional thing that they really enjoy. Oh, Vivian, if I had $1 for every time I was asked about how do I feel about therapies/ABA, I would be rich. I would be Warren Buffett by now. So Vivian, what I'll say is I don't have any personal experience with ABA. ABA was really before my time. When it was getting really popular was in the mid 90s, and I was diagnosed in 1992. So the therapies I received were occupational, speech, music, theater, and physical therapy. So those would be the 5 therapies that I absolutely loved because I had the fine motor challenges. I was great for physical therapy. Because of my sensory challenges, I was great for occupational therapy. Because I didn't start speaking in complete sentences until I was 7, speech therapy was really, really beneficial as well. Music helped with my sensory challenges because having the ability to listen to even loud music when I had difficulties with loud noises was soothing to me, and it actually helped tremendously with also building my speech. And then theater was tremendous for helping me with things such as eye contact and understanding the perspectives of others. I don't feel like we should ever force eye contact on anyone, by the way, but it helped me understand perspectives of others very much. Let's see. Will Brunetti writes, Will is awesome, by the way. Will and I have known each other for years now. Will writes, are you familiar with Exercise Connection out in Chicago? EC Autism, met the founder, really important and beneficial on the road. I have not, Will. Unfortunately, I have not. Some great questions coming in. Hey, Mercedes. Mercedes writes, my question is, how do you go about shopping with your boys without having those meltdowns to go off? I have 3 with autism, but the 2 and 6-year-old are more sensitive to the crowd and noise, but people are rude and just stare but not help. Upsets me, and I break down after these shopping experiences. Yeah, Mercedes, the most hard thing for my parents to go through when I was growing up was not necessarily my autism diagnosis, it was other people. Because we've all been in that experience, especially if we have a child who has more significant, very visible challenges, getting that rude, unsolicited comment, that rude stare. It's important for us to build on autism awareness and acceptance for that reason, because if you don't have that personal connection, it's very easy for a lot of people to just become those rude individuals because of sometimes it's ignorance and not just being able to understand. So I definitely feel for you. I've given you a virtual hug right now. I would honestly say just continue building that awareness. I think that's the most important thing. And also keep your kids engaged, whether it's virtual, whether it's iPads, visuals in public places that would help alleviate some of the challenges they might have in public places, especially when it comes to sensory challenges. Being able to fixate on something was something that would help me tremendously when I was out in public areas like a grocery store. I love this question. Alice writes, what is your opinion on neurodiversity? My son is a neurodivergent autistic, and almost every person, teacher, provider we know want to work with him as if his autism needs to be cured instead of trying to embrace the concept of a neurodivergent mind. Alice, how much time do you have? Alice, what I would love to tell you is that when and I just graduated with my doctorate in educational technology leadership, and for especially in the education world, I feel like there was a fixation for so long about saying person with autism, so person first language instead of identity first language. And a person with autism, I explain it to people and I say, it's like pretend somebody has a ball and then you don't have the ball anymore. They're a person with a ball and then they throw away the ball and then they no longer have the ball. Person with autism is very much a part of our DNA. You can't cure autism. You can help people with autism progress to overcome a lot of their obstacles, but it's not something that can be cured. We need to use analogies like that to explain how autism is very much different than other challenges that some individuals may face. There will be strengths that accompany autism diagnosis along with challenges, and just helping get to the realm of progression is really important, especially in our neurodiverse community. So identity first is really important, not using functioning labels. Another big thing. Those two areas are really important towards the future of our neurodiversity movement. Josh writes, hey, Josh, transitions. Our son never struggled with this until his PT and OT facility started changing his routine schedule. Is that common? And what advice do you have? Yeah, just transitions. I would definitely recommend social stories and visual schedules. One of the most important things is to prepare for that transition before the individual is in that transition. Being able to also make it focused on them. So going on PowerPoint presentations and just customizing social stories that are based on your child can be really, really beneficial towards preparing towards transitions. So those would be the first two steps I would recommend, especially with those routine schedules. And then I would also create a daily schedule for your child just so they have an understanding of when those transitions will be happening. God, we have a lot of good questions coming in. Again, everyone, my name is Dr. Kerrymagro, and I would super appreciate if you've been following my journey from non-speaking to professional speaker for a while now, considering nominating me for the L's for Autism Spectrum Award. I've included some information about it in the description. I'll also be, in a minute, including it in a pinned post in the comments as well. It is currently in the description with all the information you need to know. I would greatly be honored for that prestigious honor. And shoot me an email or a message if you need more information on the award. So we have a few people writing in. Hi from the UK. Yeah, where's everyone coming in from today? That would be awesome to know as well. Julia writes, do you know of any young people who have autism and gender dysphoria? Honestly, Julia, I don't. Although I would say, especially with gender dysphoria, I just saw a video that was posted on the Facebook page, Special Books by Special Kids, that I think highlighted somebody with gender dysphoria. So I definitely recommend going to that page. I'll actually include in the comments a link to his Facebook page. His name is Chris Ulmer, dear friend, really great guy, and he just highlight a self-advocate with gender dysphoria. So I would highly recommend checking out his page. Tracy writes, hey, Kerry from Australia. Tracy, I was speaking in Sydney a few years back, and then in Perth as well. I absolutely love the area. Cash writes, Kerry, love your page. I'm in the UK. I will not get help from government until so was thinking of sending son to Pakistan to get therapy at a cheaper price. Do you think it's a good idea? Cash, I would definitely recommend just doing your due diligence in the UK beforehand. There are countless self-advocates in the UK advocating from Aspie World is one. Daniel Jones is an incredible advocate. Definitely look at his page to Aspie World because there might be some resources he has that might be able to help in your search. Marcia writes, my son is on the spectrum. He started saying words at 7. That's awesome. Let's see. So we have a question that came in from Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Hi, I have a 9-year-old high functioning ASD and a 6-year-old semi-verbal ASD and ADHD. Is there a specific medication that you feel was a game changer in your life, allowing for more freedom and maybe better navigation through life? Yeah, Lisa, I'm not an expert in the field, so especially in the medicine field, so I would not feel comfortable be giving you a recommendation specifically for your child because each medication that a individual is going to take might have side effects compared to the next person you meet based on how they are in their own specific development. What I will say is that specifically for me, I did not receive any medication growing up as a kid, although with some anxiety as I got older, Zoloft was very helpful for me. But that was after I overcame many of my obstacles and wouldn't be until I was later in adulthood where I would take advantage of that. I'm an open book, everyone. And I love the questions that are coming in. Donnie writes, my twin 5-year-old grandsons have autism. One of them has a fairly limited diet. Any pointers on a good way to introduce different foods that won't automatically get wasted? Yeah, Donnie, I would definitely encourage you have multiple grandsons who have autism. If they have any specific friends who have a wide variety of diet, I would definitely include as many meals with them as possible to see that they are trying a variety of foods and hope that that peer-to-peer interaction will help them in trying new foods. I would also definitely recommend condiments, which can bring a textural feel of a certain food to a place of normalcy for them, especially if they like ketchup or mustard or any type of condiment could be very beneficial as well. Also trying to figure out foods that have similar textures that might be not in their food pyramid right now as well. Anna writes, what is your best advice when teaching students with autism integrated in an ordinary class? Yeah, Anna, it all depends if they have a para or a one-on-one. I would definitely recommend having annual awareness events at your schools for all students. My busiest month as a full-time public speaker is Autism Acceptance Month, where I go into K through 12 schools and I speak as part of student assemblies and as part of professional development on autism. And it's really eye-opening to a lot of kids who especially don't have that personal connection because it often opens up students who are in those classrooms actually talking more about their autism diagnosis by seeing an example. Kurlali writes, what therapies did you get at young age between 3 to 7 years old? So Kurlali, and I'm sorry for hacking your name because I know I probably am. I received occupational, physical, and speech starting at 4. And then when I got a little bit older, theater and music therapy began around 6.5. Oh, Nicole, that's awesome. Uh, Let's see. We have a lot of people writing in where they're coming from. That's awesome. Oh, Anna, you're so sweet. Anna writes, should go to sleep since I'm from Sweden around midnight here, but this is too interesting. And I really appreciate that. I have been dying to go to Sweden, by the way. This is definitely on my bucket list. Uh, Jenny, if you could tell me a little bit more information, just you mentioned GFC, CF is work for ASD Kid. If you can elaborate a little bit more, I'd be happy to answer your question. Jennifer writes, I'm from Australia and my son is 11 years old and attends autism specific school. I've just been through his funding process for high school and they always focus on the deficits. I always come away feeling that there's no hope for my future success of my child and all the therapies he's had since 3 years old and haven't worked. He's such a smart kid, verbal, funny, can play a tune on the piano after only hearing it a couple times, but anxiety is such a big hurdle. Uh, yeah, Jennifer, definitely recommend having a wide conversation with your child's study team. Definitely look at ways to focus on IEP planning for what the future may look like, especially when it comes to the transition to middle school and high school. Granted, your child already might be in that realm from 5 to 8, or he might just be starting middle school next year. Seeing what, and I'm sorry, you're from Australia, seeing what is in place currently in your country when it comes to accommodations at the school, and seeing how they're worked in on a academic yearly basis, and just make sure that you potentially hire an advocate as well. You can Google rights law, which can give you a lot of information on how many parents in the United States specifically actually hire an advocate to come in with them to IEP, individualized education plan meetings, to look at accommodations. To give you hope, I mean, I struggled with self-advocacy because I assumed that I was getting an IEP in college, but I learned how to self-advocate for myself by pushing myself and becoming self-motivated in my interests, which were to become the next sportscaster. I went to college for sport management, and that definitely helped in terms of self-motivation and wanted me to self-advocate so I could graduate from college. Anna writes, do you know any places around Chicago, Illinois to help and understand young adults? Yeah, Anna, I would definitely recommend the Chicago Autism Project. They are a tremendous group of individuals, so definitely look at their page. There are a few other Chicago-based organizations as well. They're just drawing a blank right now. Donnie writes, thank you. Keep up the great insight. Yeah, Donnie, I appreciate that comment. And again, if you and anyone who's watching would consider nominating me for the Els for Autism Spectrum Award, especially if you've been following my journey from non-speaking to professional speaker for a while, I would love if you would consider me for that prestigious honor. It would be a great honor because Els for Autism is one of the champions in our community. They do some tremendous, tremendous work. And just You have to love technology sometimes. Let me tell you. I apologize. I have no idea what just happened, but I am back. Tell everyone to come back. Tell everybody to share like in this post so it comes back. I have no idea what just happened. But can everyone see me and hear me okay now? Just let me know in the comments. You have to love technology sometimes. And I just heard myself twice, so I'm guessing it is working now. If anyone in the comments could just let me know. Okay, great. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. All right, great. So we have a few more questions coming in. We will get right back to it. Josh writes, were you diagnosed not speaking? No, I was diagnosed with autism at 4. Jessica writes, my brother has autism, and when he was little, the teachers told him that he wasn't able to hold a pencil and draw. He's 14 and he could draw, and he wants to know if he could go to college. Jessica, if your brother is watching, I want him to know that it's going to be hard work, but I know a lot of individuals. If that is something you want to strive for, go through it with every mean in your body and try your best. And I hope for nothing for the best for you. Failing rates. I have so many questions for my 9-year-old son. Oh no, what happened? I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm back. Yes. Yes. Oh, great. Still can hear me. Great. Sarah writes, have to pop off, go teach, but wanted to say hi from Sarah at the Stay-at-Home Soprano. I'm starting to write again. Haven't forgot to promise my follow-up. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. I would love to read that when you have the time. Lindsay writes, hey, Lindsay, how do you respond when people say autism can be cured by diet and gut health? What's a positive non-expletive word? I don't believe that autism can be cured by diet, and the leading scientists in the world say there's no medical detection or cure for autism. So that's basically just all the indicators right now. A struggle I hear is people who say autism can be cured by diets or bleach, enemas, which a lot of people do for some reason, and it literally blows my mind why people would actually even recommend this. Preston writes, our son has autism. He's RA and OT in speech. They're wanting him to start ABA therapy full-time in 2 weeks. They are wanting him to go 8 to 4 a.m. Monday through Friday. What's your opinion on that much time in ABA starting out? Yeah, Preston, the transition to ABA should be a very, very easy going into it process because ABA can be very rigorous. Granted, I know that early intervention is the key, especially in those first 5 years. So I definitely just recommend looking at your village in your local area. Also do your due diligence when it comes to ABA overall. There's been some backlash in the community about taking away autistic traits, specifically positive autistic traits, and making a lot of people robots. That's been the devil's advocate. Although I know autistic people who are ABA therapists today. So I mean, just definitely do your homework and listen to the opinions of autistic adults and experts in the field based on how they feel about therapy. Especially when we talk about ABA, we talk about reformed therapy because ABA has a very, very interesting history. So Kristen writes, I lost the video. Do you drive? If so, what are what did you do? If so, any resources, or some has ADHD, ASD, and apraxia of speech. Yeah, Kristen. So one of the things that I will say is I took my time before I learned to drive. I didn't start driving until I was 19. Again, I lived in a big city where public transportation was easily available. Definitely start off driving in small areas. Definitely no highway, especially if your child has sensory challenges right away. But definitely take it slow. Definitely make sure that if you can do any type of therapeutic experiences for them while they're driving, such as having the music on, especially their favorite radio station, definitely do that. I would definitely recommend leaving the windows closed, starting off in that experience as well, because of the unexpected noises and different weather conditions that could be going on as well. Yeah, I'm really shocked about that whole video falling off, by the way. Valerie writes, hey, Valine writes, my son was diagnosed autistic at almost 4. He is high functioning and also has SPD. He is now 9 and have him in general ed, but he tends to need to take many breaks from the class and work pre-COVID. Is this the best choice? He has a one-on-one in the class, but he tends to still have anxiety. Also, is there anything you could recommend in helping him with his out of breaks at home and class? Feline, I believe that especially after 45 minutes of any type of activity, it can be very rigorous to continue that activity, regardless if you have a child who's on the spectrum or not. So I would definitely continue breaks when possible. I would consider having visual timers to help them understand their transitions a little bit better, and understanding when breaks will come in between, just so they're ready for those transitions. In addition to that, especially when it comes to the transitions to home and class, social stories and visual schedules are again, the bread and butter that you're going to want to consider. Ruth Ann writes, I love your Facebook page and message. Thank you. Awesome. Appreciate it, Ruth Ann. Just for everyone who's tuning in, again, my name is Kerrymagro, professional speaker, best-selling author, and autistic self-advocate. I have included in the comments if you would potentially like to nominate myself for the L's for Autism Spectrum Award. This is to honor an autistic self-advocate who is making a difference within the community. I've actually just included it now as a pinned post, so you can check it out. So it's now pinned with the link to the award and then also the info for the nomination form. I would really greatly appreciate if you have been following my journey from non-speaking to professional speaker, considering me for this prestigious honor. Do we have any other questions? Valine writes, any recommendations on how to help him in this situation of COVID, however, with being homeschooled and the nervousness of having to be going back to school and being antisocial and not being able to deal with the transition? Got it. Yeah, Feline, I think the importance is to, especially if it's siblings, making sure that he has a community of people who are there to support him if he doesn't have siblings. Definitely seeing if there's anything the schools are currently doing as part of after school programs that he might be able to be involved in. Also talking to your child study team to know if there are any individuals who might have similar social challenges that you might be able to arrange play dates with. It's really just about asking questions to the school specifically, because that will help tremendously with that transition. Hey, Helen Buckley. It's awesome. Any other thoughts, questions? And meanwhile, I just wanted to tell everyone thank you. Also, thank you for nominating me for giving me love. I just learned recently that I would be nominated for the what was it? Or actually nominated for something called the CNN Hero Award. But also, I just learned that I'm going to be giving a presentation in Hawaii, so I'm really excited about that. All right. Well, I just realized we're about 40 minutes in now, so I just wanted to thank everyone for jumping on. I will be posting a link in the comments. If I did not get to your question tonight, go to the link, which will be in the comments in about a minute. And I would be more than happy to answer your question there. Again, everyone, my name is Dr. Kerrymagro, professional speaker, author, and autistic self-advocate. If you would like to learn more about our journey, go to kerrymagro.com. If you would like me to speak potentially at your child's school or potentially within your community, go to kerrymagro.com. I'll leave a link in the comments where I can potentially come to your area in the fall. Thank you all again so much, and have a terrific night.